Hello and welcome to another edition of In Between the Pages with James Lott Jr. I'm James Lott Jr. of JLJ Media, and I tell you, when I tell you I got a big guest, I got a big guest. This person, you probably just know the name in the credits. You may have seen the name, don't even know you've seen the name on so many things. And we're going to talk about the diversity of projects he's worked on, some of the greatest projects, but also the Oscars, folks. He's won Emmys for Oscars shows as we're doing Oscar week and weekend. He has a book out called We're Live at 5, which I love that title. And it's so good. Written with Lauren Stevens and a foreword by Billy Crystal. We know who he is. Help me welcome the legend, Jeff Margolis. Hi, Jeff.
Hi, James. So nice to be here. Thanks for having me.
It's my honor and pleasure. The first thing I just want to ask you is just in general, because this book, it's a look back. I've seen you had to do a lot of looking back.
Right.
And now you're out there promoting the book, and the book is done. You birthed it. You gave it out to the world. You pushed it out. He pushed it out.
Right.
Now, when you look back at your life in total, when it comes to your career up to now, was there anything that really surprised you? You lived it, but was there anything that surprised you?
That's a good question. No, nothing really surprised me. I mean, I just took everything as it came, soaked it all in, got as much as I could get out of everything along the way, and used all of those tools. And I don't think there were any surprises, really. It's one step at a time as you're, sort of working your way up. And I was trying to think, it's such a good question. I was trying to think of a surprise.
But I mean, that means it's good. No, because your book literally is it does show your step by step how you got this, how you got into this special, and then
Right.
And then someone got you into directing this, and then it does show. This book does show that. So folks don't show the book. It does show that. So the way you're right, it's kind of like maybe that's what it is. It's just that it's.
Yeah, I think that you just, I set a goal for myself. There was something that I wanted to do, and I knew that it was going to take a while to get there. And everything along the way was just another learning experience. It was just another tool to add into my toolbox. And, every once in a while you work with a piece of talent who you admired and they're very difficult, and you go, oh, I didn't expect that. Or you heard that somebody's very difficult and they're the nicest person on the planet.
Yes, I've had that.
That happens too. But there are no surprises, really. I mean, it's just stuff you expect.
Yeah, that's true. I've been in business almost 20 years. So like you, I've seen things where I'm like, oh, okay, I kind of expected this to go around and go on. I kind of got it. And you're right, the surprises usually are, oh, they're way nicer than I've heard, or like,
Right.
oh, okay, like they're easy to work with. Okay, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, that thing.
It's usually that way. There are so many more nice people, good people in our industry than there are the other way around. So,
I agree. As you look back, also is another kind of question for you, because we're gonna get to different folks. We'll get to different parts of the book. We're gonna go in between the pages. Trust me.
okay.
But I want to ask in total again, just kind of when you look back, what is one thing you glad you learned along the way that serves you now, that still serves you now?
Well, I'll tell you what I learned. I learned that as I worked with talent in front of the camera and behind the camera, but mostly in front of the camera, talent, big movie stars, big television stars, big recording artists. What I learned is that everybody gets up in the morning and pees just like I did.
Okay, that's right.
And whatever they're going through, whatever mood they're in, whatever happens during the day while you're working together, I always think of, we all did the same thing when we got up this morning.
Yes, very true. I like that. Good lesson. Okay, I'm going to start. Well, actually, before you start in there, what was the impetus of writing the book now? Deciding to do a kind of a biography now,
About maybe 6 or 7 years ago, my dad said to me, "You know, Jeff, you have such an amazing, excuse me one sec. You've had such an amazing career. You have such an amazing career. You should share it with the world. You know, you should write a book." And I said, "Dad, you know, I'm not really a writer." And and he handed me about 5 pages, legal pages, where he had written notes on the front of the back of these pages. And I looked at him and I thought, "Excuse me, I'm so sorry. Of course, when you need to talk the most is when you get a
yes,
frog in your throat,
yes,
right?"
exactly. So I always have water. I always say have water nearby. I always have water nearby, just in case. You have a great voice. You have a great voice. I want to hear it. Yeah.
Oh, thank you, thank you. Anyway, so I started to think about it. I looked at all of his notes. I started to think about it. And I thought maybe this would make a good read. And then a couple years ago, my dad passed away, and I brought those notes out again. And I thought, he was right. I'm going to do this now. Now's a good time. And I dedicate the book to my dad. And I don't know, I just felt it was 50 years. I had 5 decades of stories to share and to talk about.
And
And I just thought,
and you're only 53, which is crazy. I don't understand.
I'm not even 53 yet.
I mean,
But anyway, I just thought it was a good time. I felt like I wanted a new and different experience, along with all the other great experiences I've had in my career. I wanted something new and different. And I thought, you know, I've worked with writers for all these years on all the shows. And the only thing I've ever really written is when uh, a presenter is up at the podium and is setting up the nominees or something, and a writer writes something that I don't think is appropriate for somebody to say or something. I might rewrite the copy, tell the writer I'm going to rewrite it, and then I rewrite it in my own words. That's about as much writing as I've ever done. So I just wanted the challenge of writing this book.
yeah.
And I found Lauren Stevens, this writer that I worked with, is absolutely incredible. And we spent, it took me 3.5 years to do the book. And we started out by meeting on Zoom once a week for 3 hours with a transcriber. By the way, I've never met Lauren Stevens in person.
Well,
Never.
I guess that makes sense these days because of the pandemic or anything. I think that's understandable. Yes.
We've kept it Zoom.
Yes.
And it's been great. So we met with a transcriber, and we met on a weekly basis. And I told her stories. She said, "Tell me." She said, "Tell me, why did you get into this? How did you get interested? What made you?" And so I just started talking, and chronologically, we just went in chronological order. And then at some point, when we started to get into the beginning of my career, she gave me a list of credits. And I looked at it and I thought, did I do that? 42 years ago, did I really do that? There was so much stuff. I've done over 150 hours. I mean, 150 specials.
I know.
I don't know how many hours that translates
Oh,
into, like over 500
or
but
more.
or
Yeah.
more, yeah. And anyway, so I really enjoyed the experience of writing. It was something new. All the memories that came back were so wonderful, to be able to relive all that. I put a disclaimer in the front of the book because I said to everybody, listen, it's 50 years, so I'm trying to remember to the best of my ability. So if something doesn't sound quite the way you remember it, I apologize in advance, but it's how I remember it.
Oh my goodness. I'm gonna go dig in because I want to dig in.
Go.
Richard Pryor. You know I gotta go there first. He wasn't your first, but I want to go there first. I mean, it's a
Okay.
fascinating story because he's one of my favorite comedians of all time. Grew up with
Yes.
I have
Yes.
the albums you mentioned, and that you mentioned the specials they're in there, and the fact that you were a part of that time, and it's considered one of the greatest stand-ups of all time. I agree with it. But I'd heard a thing. I think I saw it on one of his things. I want to make sure it's true or not. So was it the first night he went on? He kind of bombed. It was the second night that you guys.
No, no, no,
What,
no,
what, what was the whole
no.
thing?
Just no. It was the first night. It was the only. I mean, it was just one shot.
That's what
It
I
was
thought.
the first time he walked out on stage, and that was it.
That was it. His magic.
Yeah.
And how about in the book, but kind of like how do you direct that?
Well, I had directed a lot of stand-up comedy on television, and this was the first time I had ever done 35 millimeter film.
Yeah.
And I thought the only difference is that one camera is recorded one way and a film camera is recorded a different way. So I thought I'll set up my cameras the same way I always set up cameras to shoot comedy. That's what I did. With film, you have to be aware of the fact that your camera's going to run out of film. So, like, the two most important shots to me were his close up and his full figure shot. So, I had double cameras so that when the first one started to run out, the second one could start recording. And what I did was I did a process called video assist, where each film camera had a little video camera on the top of the lens of the film camera. So I sat in the back of the theater and I had a technical director with me, and we cut it just like I would cut a live comedy concert for television. So when I was done, I gave all of the recordings to the film editors and I said, this is how you're going to put it together, which is the way we did it.
So wow, what a process.
Yeah.
So going back to slightly then, so everything you've learned at UCLA, which is of course one of the top-notch schools, my family's alumni, also, they came in handy then. You were able to discern kind of what you need to do for film and how to kind of help yourself.
Well, look, I learned a lot at UCLA, but I learned I think you learn more with hands-on experience, you know. And I just as I grew in television and got involved in different kinds of projects, some of them sort of used film and tape together sometimes. So I had the experience of knowing how film worked. Also, because I was so curious about things, I met directors who directed, 1 hour dramas on network television. And I asked if I could come and observe, which I did. So I saw the way that they shot and everything. There was really, a camera's a camera's a camera. And the way you cover an event, whatever it is, whether you're doing a sitcom and you're doing comedy pieces or comedy sketches, or you're shooting recording artists singing a song on a stage or in a studio, a camera's a camera's a camera. So there's not that much difference between film and television when you think about it, you know?
Especially back then. I mean, we're talking because nowadays I think it's a little different, but back then especially,
Yeah.
they made a big deal about being TV's one thing and film is something totally glorious, so to speak, right? It's like, but you're saying, well, not really. So
No, my job was to get it recorded, whether it be on film or tape, get it recorded and make it look like a live concert, which is what we did.
oh, you did. I mean, you did.
We shot it. An announcer said, ladies and gentlemen, Richard Pryor. He walked out on stage from stage right. The curtain went up and he started and he just went until he was done. And the laughter never stopped. And I just covered it. I always put myself in the fifth row center. Whenever I'm directing anything,
Okay.
I put myself in the fifth row center because I want to show the audience the way it should be seen, the way I see it. When I'm in the fifth row center, I direct the way I watch it.
I like that. Folks at home, this is pearls of wisdom. I love that actually. Yes. Okay.
You know, let me just add one thing here. Billy Crystal and I did a lot of Academy Awards together.
Yes, you guys did. Yes.
And what we used to do, we had worked together before the Oscars, and Billy had a lot of confidence and a lot of trust in me. I never saw his opening monologue until we were live on the air. Never saw it. And even sitting in the control room, I put myself in the fifth row center and I shot it the way I would see it for the first time, the way the audience was seeing it. Billy would only tell me when he had a joke or when he was going to go to Jack Nicholson or Meryl Streep or Clint Eastwood or Julia Roberts. I would know when he was going to that person in the audience so I could have a camera there and cover them. Other than that, he told me nothing.
That's and you know, there have been some great hosts at the Oscars.
Right.
I'm not going to ask you which was the best one. I'm not going to ask you that. But I'm going to say out loud to myself, to you, back in the day, it was Johnny Carson. I thought Johnny Carson was really good. Bob Hope,
Yeah.
they were really good.
Yeah.
But from modern time, I have to say Billy Crystal was the best. I just feel like, I mean, there's some really good ones. I mean, Jimmy Kimmel, my buddy, is really good. He's good.
Yeah.
Steve Martin's good. I mean, they were good. I just think that. But what I want to ask you is, why do you think Billy Crystal worked so well in that medium of the Oscar host?
I don't know. There's a comfort about Billy Crystal. You know, when he walks out on stage, you feel like you're in his living room.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
I mean, he's just so at ease and so it's almost conversational. As funny as he is, it's almost conversational, as opposed to somebody else walking out on stage. You know that they're the host. You know they have to do a monologue. You know they have to get to the first introduction of the first presenter. You feel that. But with Billy, you just felt like, come on in my living room. I'm going to tell you some jokes.
That's true. It's
Seriously.
true.
And, you know, Whoopi was kind of the same way.
I love Whoopi. So, I mean,
Yeah, she was kind of the same way. You sort of felt the same way with her. So, they've all been different.
That's what I said. I'm not asking you which one. I'm not going to do that. It's like picking your children. You want to do that. But I'm just saying, right. I just think that Billy, because you probably worked with him the most, right? On the Oscars with him the most.
Yes.
The most.
Yeah.
He's so, you're right. It's like when he comes on stage, everybody kind of goes, we're going to have a good time. Like, it says, well, you just kind of go have a good time. Like, it's Billy. It's Billy.
Yeah.
I mean, when he came back, it was like, it's Billy. It's like, it's Billy. It's like, I mean, like, where have you been? Like, he was gone for a couple of years. Like, where have you been? So for you as a director and producer, this must feel nice. You just go, you probably feel like we're in good hands. I mean, I'm sure you're handling all the stuff behind the scenes, but you're like, we're in good hands. It's Billy.
Yeah, absolutely. He's the best, also the best policeman for a show, like that. You know that if there are ever any problems that happen while you're live on the air, he's going to be able to smooth it over, clean it up. He's got a response. I mean, he's just the best.
Yes.
He's phenomenal.
I love the year when they said some of the Oscars got like stolen or whatever. And he was like with the bag of oranges. It's a total LA joke with the Oscar decided on the side. I'm like, he comes up with the best. It's like he comes up with the best stuff. I mean, just the best stuff.
Well, I loved when he rode the horse out.
Oh my God. I did the click, and that was genius. I mean, genius.
And the year after Jack Palance did the one-arm push-ups and he rolled the Oscar out on its side, that big 30-foot tall Oscar.
Yes.
No, he had some great stuff. Great stuff. And it was a lot of fun to shoot his comedy. For me to see it for the first time and to shoot it and try and grab everything and make sure I didn't miss anything. And it was a real challenge. I loved it. Loved it.
Does the pressure stay the same every year? Because I mean, you've done it for a while, but like, does it get? I mean, does it get any less pressure? I mean, like you're producing and directing one of the biggest shows any year, every year. Just I mean, it's like the biggest thing, and people, all eyes are watching. How does that feel, Mr. Jeff Margolis?
It feels great. It feels great. I love the pressure. There is a lot of pressure. You've got a lot of people to satisfy. You've got the network to satisfy. You've got the advertisers to satisfy. You've got all the studios that have movies up for awards, you know, to make them happy to satisfy. It's a lot of pressure, but I say in the book, I never get nervous. I only get excited. I never get nervous about doing anything. I get excited. The adrenaline gets going, and it's just, there's a lot of pressure, but you sort of don't think about that while you're in it. You know, you're just in it to do it. The one thing that you think about in the back of your mind, at least I do, and I think I can speak for a lot of directors, it's your job to try and get the show off the air on time.
You know that's the big joke every single year, no matter who. It's gonna be 5 hours, 4 hours. Like, that's always the joke, right? That's the joke. So really, so your whole thing really is, can we get it under the time it's supposed to be? That's your whole thing.
But the thing about award shows is that all the planning that you do and all the timings that you do and everything, you get a winner up there as soon as it's a female who opens her purse and pulls out a piece of paper, or a guy who reaches in a suit jacket and gets a piece of paper, you know you're screwed.
Yeah. I know. Now you know that's always a big thing, but I mean, it's just so funny that that's like the whole joke is that we'll be here for another 5 hours, you know, blah, because you're right. It's not because of you guys, it's because of the speeches and the unpredictability of the winners. You know,
and you know what's happened now is years and years ago, we always tell everybody on all these award shows that they have 45 seconds to make an acceptance speech. That's really a long time. If you sit and look at your watch, 45 seconds is enough time to thank all the people you need to thank. Right?
Yes.
And so people started talking more than 45 seconds. And so we started to sneak music in underneath. And for the oh, Siri thought I was talking to her.
Not you, Siri, not you. I'm talking you right now, not you. Yes, I love it.
But anyway, and for the first couple of years we did that, you know, it worked. People would hear the music and say, oh, my time's up. I get, you know, and they would. Now the music comes in and people say, listen, stop the music. I'm not done. This might be the only time I ever get up here. I have a lot to say. And what can you do?
When there are magical moments that happen at the Oscars, like Halle Berry winning, or like even a couple of years ago, Michelle Yeoh winning, or Jamie Kerr, like there's certain things that happen, you know, but also other things too that happen. But at the Oscars, you as a director producer, are you so busy focused on the work, or do you feel it also? I mean, what are your emotions like during the show? Because I know you're busy going camera to camera. You're doing the work, obviously, but do you feel stuff too? When you see something magical happen, do you feel it also?
I can't tell you how many times I've been sitting in the control room during the show and something has been so emotional that I've lost it. You know, I get caught up in the moments. You know, I watch the show the same way I would if like Sunday night, I'm going to sit and watch the show, you know, and I'm going to feel everything that's going on. That's what I always did as the director. I just wanted to feel the evening. I wanted to feel the magic of the evening. I wanted to be part of the industry and, you know, just everything. There are surprises, there are disappointments. And I just wanted to make sure that I could translate that to the audience. you're doing the show for all the people who are in the room at the Dolby Theater, or the Kodak Theater. Um, you're doing it for all of those people, all of the people that are in the industry. This is an award show for movies, for the motion picture industry, for everybody involved. But the Oscars is viewed by billions of people around the world. That's who you're really doing the show. As a television director, that's who you're really doing the show for. You've got to get those images on the screen. You have to be able to capture those emotional moments so that somebody sitting at home can cry like people are crying in the theater, or like I'm crying in the control room.
I know, right?
No, seriously.
Wow. All right. Are you directing producing this Sunday? Are you doing it? No.
No.
Yeah, I think you're right. Yeah. So you actually get to sit and watch, relax, and just like see the show.
I'm so looking forward to just sitting in my den, watching on a big screen.
Come on, Jeff. Okay, Jeff. No, can you? Because like for me, I'm a host. I'm an interviewer.
Yes.
I watch people and I'm going, oh. So can you sit and watch without the director producer ear on?
No. No.
That's why I think, thank you, Jeff. I'm like, thanks for saying that, because it's hard for us sometimes. You've been doing it for a long time. Of course, you don't mean any harm, of course, because of course you're going to watch it through your eyes.
Yeah, but I'll enjoy it because I know that I know that I'm not responsible for anything. I can just enjoy it.
Enjoy it.
Yeah.
I love it. Was the last Oscars you did, how emotional was that for you? So when you're like, okay, now we're done. I've done. Did you know it was your last, or did you choose later? How did that go?
I didn't know it was my last.
Yeah.
I did the show with Quincy Jones.
Yes.
Yeah, which was really, really great. And Gil Cates came back the following year, and he just had other plans.
Yeah.
And so I wasn't invited back. I wasn't fired.
Right, you weren't fired. No, wasn't fired, folks.
No, I just wasn't invited back.
Yeah, there's a difference, folks. There's a difference. There's a total difference. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So, but then after that, though, did you start feeling like, wow, I guess I've done my job, and did you mourn the loss of of the job at all, or?
Oh yeah, it was something that I had always dreamed about from the time I was in high school. From the time I was a child, I dreamed about getting involved in television. By the time I was in high school, I was watching the Academy Awards, and I said, boy, one day I want to do that show. I want to direct that show one day. And I finally got there. And when I did, I I was just I couldn't believe that I was actually doing the Academy Awards. And I wanted to do it forever.
Yes.
And it was very emotional when I did not get asked back. I felt a tremendous loss. But we move on.
You do, and you did.
We move on.
Another person I have to ask you about, is because they are a legendary statue. Talk about the book is Michael Jackson.
The best.
Yeah, I mean the book he tells it's some great story and stuff. 1995. For our viewers and listeners, can you elaborate a little bit on Michael and what you worked on with him, and just kind of give us a little bit about Michael, about MJ.
I loved him. I met him when he was probably 8 years old. And I was back then doing cue cards. It was the beginning of my career.
Love it.
And the Jackson Five were on the Andy Williams show. It was a weekly variety show, and I was doing cue cards on that show, and the Jackson Five were on. And as I was, we finished a song, and Michael came over to me and he said, how do you do that? I mean, who writes those things? And how do you know when to pull the card to get to the next step? And I thought, this kid is really inquisitive. He really wants to know, So I took him backstage and I showed him how we print the cards.
Oh, wow.
And showed him the script and told him, when we know to pull the cards and all that. And so it was kind of cool, this little kid that was really interested. Anyway, that's where our friendship started. And the Jackson Five were on more shows where I was doing cue cards. And then I moved on to the Sonny and Cher Comedy Hour as
Yes.
the associate director. And the Jackson Five were booked on the Sonny and Cher Comedy Hour. And Michael saw me on stage and I wasn't holding cue cards. This was during a rehearsal. I wasn't holding cue cards. I was looking at a script in my hands. And he came over to me and he said, "Hey man, how you doing?" And we hugged and you know, and he said, "Where are your cards?" And I said, "I've moved up, Michael. I've moved up. I'm not doing cue cards now. I'm the associate director on Sunny Chair Comedy Hour." He said, "Jeff, man, that's so cool. It's so just now what do you do?" So I took him into the control room
Oh, I got a funny.
and I showed him, you know, everything that was in there, all the monitors and the switcher and the audio booth and the lighting. And anyway, we developed a friendship. And over the years, I worked with him when he became Michael Jackson, when there was no more Jackson 5. I worked with him numerous times. And I developed a really special relationship with him. And do you want me to talk about the HBO special?
Yes,
Michael
from my 95. Yes.
Yeah. Michael Jackson, One Night Only. I call it Michael Jackson, One Night Only, the show that never happened.
Right. I know. It's like,
Yeah. Unfortunately, we worked on that show for so long. Michael knew that his management company and his record label and all that wanted him to sort of do a comeback concert because he had gone through a pretty tough time in his life with all those, you know, false allegations and all that
yes,
stuff.
yes.
Really. But you know, I used to go out to Neverland Ranch. And we used to sit, I would spend a weekend out there. You know, he had guest house. Oh, he had beautiful guest houses on this compound. Place was amazing. And we would just talk about what we were going to do for him to, how was he going to come back? You know, what was he going to do that would be different? Anyway, we made a decision about something we wanted to do, and then I had to sell it to the record label and the management company, who they looked at me and said, "What have you been smoking?" You know.
Yes.
But anyway, it was it was a great experience, you know, developing the show, creating the show, working with all the people that we brought in to work with us. And his management company, his record label got on board and they were definitely behind the idea. And unfortunately, Michael worked so hard on it. I mean, this was something different that he'd never really done before, the way we were going to do this comeback concert. He worked so hard on it. He wasn't eating, he wasn't sleeping properly, and he wore himself out. And the day before the show was supposed to air, we were in dress rehearsal mode, and he just collapsed. He just collapsed and scared the shit out of everybody.
I'm sure.
And, you know, he was rushed off to the hospital in an ambulance. And I got a phone call and was told that he wasn't going to make it. And we had to cancel the show.
Ugh.
And for me to have to, I gathered everybody. We were at the Beacon Theater in New York. That's where we were doing the special film. And I gathered everybody in the audience and I had to let them know, everybody who had been working for months and months and months on the show. And I had to let everybody know that it wasn't going to happen. And talk about emotions, you know, as I was telling everybody, I just started to cry. It was so sad. Yeah, everybody wanted to work so hard
Sure.
to help Michael make this comeback in a different way and for him to be seen in a way that people had never seen him before. It was exciting.
Right.
And everybody wanted to do it for Michael, and it was a big disappointment. My relationship with him was great. You know, we could talk on the phone, we could call each other. You know, I had his private number, he had mine.
Yes.
And sometimes we would just, you know, call each other to just talk about stuff.
Yeah.
You know, we didn't necessarily have to be doing a show together, but we did a lot of stuff. He was on, I did the show, Sammy Davis's 60th anniversary celebration. And Michael was on that show and he did the most. He wrote this song for Sammy, the most incredible. I mean, it was the showstopper.
Yeah.
You know, all my experiences with Michael were like that. He was so special every time he graced us with his presence on a show. It was really special. He was an unbelievably kind man.
Yeah.
Very giving, very philanthropical. I mean, he was great. And I miss him every day. I miss him.
Sure. I'm sure that loss was a loss.
That was a loss, man.
That was a loss. Way too soon. A loss.
A surprising loss.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. You worked with
Did I answer your question?
Yes, enough? You did. You did wonderfully. You did.
Okay.
I was mesmerized. You saw I was just like just listening to you. I love listening to you. I just like when I read the book and I'm like, I like listening to you tell me all these stuff. I love it. I'm just gonna listen to you. Okay. Can you tell at this point, because you worked with so many different celebrities on the rise, celebrities who've been on the rise or coming back, celebrities who are, can you tell when someone has it? Like, for example, like when you saw Michael at 8, did you know, you kind of think, this kid has it? Like you said, you know she was, but can you tell nowadays when you see celebrities, you're working with them, that you're like, something about that girl. She, I think she's gonna, can you tell?
I can.
Yeah.
I really can. It's not only the performance, it's not only their talent, but it's who they are and how they are. It's how they treat other people. It's how they treat their team. It's the way they accept direction, the way they intake ideas, the way they're willing to collaborate. It's all of that. It's the package. If somebody gets up there and they have a great voice, but they're miserable, difficult to deal with, miserable, you might say, oh, they have a great voice, but with that kind of attitude, who knows if they're going to make it or not.
Right.
But if someone like Taylor Swift, I mean, look at her.
Yes.
I mean, she's the total package.
Yes. Really
Michael Jackson. He had more talent than anybody, and he was the nicest guy. You loved working with him. He was very collaborative, very willing to try things, always shared with everybody around him. So yes, when somebody has it.
So did you work on the Oscars the year Prince performed and won?
I did a number of American Music Awards.
Okay, there you go. I was going to ask you about Prince, because another person who's magical, but I didn't know. I know he was very different than others. I wasn't sure how your experience was with him.
Well, he was just difficult. Yeah. He was difficult. Like the first time he was on the American Music Awards, after camera blocking, his people asked me if I would tape all the rehearsals that we did with him. And then he came into the control room and he sat with me and he looked at everything and he said, I like that. I like that. I don't like that. I don't like that. You need to change this. You got to fix it. And I always want to make the performer happy. I want to make them look as good as I can make them look and sound as good as they can sound. So unless it's something that's impossible to do, I accommodate them. Okay. So every time he asked for something to be, I fixed it. Okay. And then we rehearsed again after I had a chance to make all the fixes. And he came back into the truck and he looked at everything again. And he gave me a hug and he said, good job, man.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, good job. He said, I'm comfortable. We can go live on the air now.
I like your attitude, though. I like your attitude of like, you could have been like, this motherfucker. Like, you could have been all kind of shit. But you're like, I do want him to, I want a good performance. You were thinking about the show first. You were there with the show first and not your ego. You see what it sounds like.
Well, you know what? The other thing is when you think about it, it's difficult being on either side of the camera. But as an artist, like I think that the most insecure performers are comedians.
Yes.
They have to make people laugh. If a comedian gets out there and tells a joke and everybody sits there straight faced and nothing happens, you know, they get crazy. They get crazy.
Right.
So being on the other side of the camera is difficult. So I always try to make the person, like I said, look and sound as good as possible. And most performers know what works for them and what doesn't. There are a lot of them that come in and say, tell me what to do, where to go, where to stand, where to look, what I should do. Tell me what you think I should wear. Should I wear my hair up or down or what? You know, so I forgot where I was going with that.
No, but say that I say you talk about the show first over ego.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Right.
No. The most important thing is to make the artist happy. It's very difficult being on that side of the camera. You know, when you got those camera lenses looking at you and you know that you're singing or you're acting or whatever you're doing, and there's millions of people watching, you know, it's tough. So I always try and make the artists feel comfortable, and I always let them know that I've got their back and I'm going to do the best I can do to make them look as good as they can look and sound as good as they can sound.
I like that. Well, that's what you can do. I mean, that's the thing. I just want to mention, I want to ask a couple, a little behind the scenes stuff. When it comes, so you've done several different kinds of award shows. I mean, like you said, American Music Awards, you've done variety specials. I grew up watching Sonny and Cher. That was my grandma watching them. Are they all basically the same in terms of shooting them? I mean, I know there's individual differences. Like you mentioned TV and film are basically kind of the same. It's just one has. Have you found that anything variety based is kind of the same types, or are they really different?
Everything's different.
Okay.
Everything's different. I mean, award shows, the purpose of an award show is to give out awards. There's a stage, there's a set, there are microphones that people go to, you know, so you have to shoot it a certain way, you have to cover it a certain way. There's a sort of a format for award shows, but variety specials, concert specials, all that, each one of them is different. They all have a life of their own. I think that probably award shows, that's the only thing that I can say really has a sort of set format. You know that you need close-up cameras. You know that you need cameras that can shoot the audience. You know, you have to follow people up to the podium, you know, all those things. So you set up to do that. It's kind of a formula thing, but as the show progresses, it has a life of its own. So you don't shoot them all the same way, but you sort of set up the same way to cover them the same way.
Right. I could ask you this because it's not person, it's place. Is there a favorite theater or studio you liked working with in terms of was it Dolby Theater, was it Kodak Theater, was it Beverly Hills? Like, but is there certain one you like? I like that space. It just seems to work for you.
Shrine Auditorium.
Okay, like that.
Shrine Auditorium. There's something about its history, and there's a feel when you walk into the place. I've done award shows in there. I've done concerts in there. I did an ABC special called The Disco Ball, where we turned the Shrine Auditorium into a disco. You know, I had dancers up in the opera boxes with mirror balls and you know, we shot the thing. Seriously, we turned the Shrine Auditorium into a disco. I shot it 360, you know, and so it's a great stage for award shows. Every seat in the theater can see the stage beautifully. Yeah, there are no bad seats in that theater. They're only further back. You know what I'm saying? But and everything in there works. It's big. And when you go in there, you can put any set that the production designer designs will fit on the stage. Any place the lighting designer wants to put lights, there's room for. I mean, just everything works in there. And there's a feel about it. I mean, it was built in the late teens, early 20s. You know, it was the first theater in Los Angeles, the first really big theater. And it's got a giant ballroom, which is great for the governor's ball afterwards, after the Oscars, and for any party after any big award show. You know, it's everything about it. The parking lot is big, and there's enough parking for people.
Very important, Los Angeles folks. Very important.
It is. It is.
You know it is, Jeff. You know it is. When it comes to
I know, absolutely, absolutely.
Yes.
Anyway, it's my favorite theater. There are some great theaters all over the world. You know, I love working at the Pantages in Hollywood. That's a very special. It's a very special sort of Art Deco-y kind of place as well. A lot of history there. As a matter of fact, I'm trying to think. Wasn't the first Oscar? I don't remember now. Wasn't the first Oscar telecast done from the Pantages? I don't know. We'd have to look that up and see.
I know. It's like first. I'm gonna kind of look at this. First Oscar
telecast.
Yes. Okay. Was at, let's see, 1953, NBC television, the 25th, and live from Hollywood. Okay, let's see, that's the years. Where's the, I was somebody where was, I'm gonna say where. Telling me all the other stuff. There was, okay. In the Pantages Theater.
Okay.
1953, you're right. So 50 years ago. Yeah, 50 years ago.
That's another theater that's got a lot of history. Just something about being in a place with history, you know, all the things that have gone on in that building. You go, oh my God, you know, it's great.
I want to tell folks just a little side about Pantages, because I love the Pantages Theater. And last year I saw Six there. I saw Tina Turner the musical there. I mean, so they have a lot of great shows there. And the thing is, to me, again, there's not really bad seats either. It's like it curves down and goes kind of up when you're when you're orchestra or above.
Yeah.
See the stage. The stage is there. The stage is there. You can see it. Great acoustics. I love the way how old it looks. I love how it looks inside. I'm a huge fan of Pantages. I mean, I go to all the. There's a lot of great. We have like the Amundsen and all those. But I like, and it's right there in Hollywood. It's like it's Hollywood and Vine. It's right there, right there.
It's very much like all the New York theaters on Broadway.
Yes, very much so.
It has that same sort of flavor.
I agree with you completely. It does. And
every time I go into the Pantages, I wonder if I'm on Broadway or on Hollywood Boulevard, you know?
Yes, I agree with you. And I love Broadway. Sorry, but I know I agree with you. And that's what they call it, Broadway in Hollywood. Folks you can go on and sign up, and they always show Pantages.
Yeah.
They do.
Yeah.
That's good. And they have parking everywhere. And if you want to take the train, right across the street is the train. So you got that now too. So the W and all that. So yeah.
Listen, the Dorothy Chandler Pavilion is another.
Oh, yes.
I mean, it's a beautiful, beautiful theater, and it's one of Los Angeles. It's a jewel in Los Angeles, you know. So
I agree. I think one of them closed though. Not Joy, but was it Mark Taper closed? I can't remember somebody. I think somebody closed. I can't remember. But
I don't remember.
I'm going to the Amundsen to see A Strange Loop in a few months. That's nice. A good theater also. That's enough. I mean, there's a lot of people don't realize in LA. Just a little side note, folks. There is great theaters in LA. It's like
absolutely.
I mean, we know that New York has its stuff, but LA has some really good theaters.
They sure do.
And you would know.
Absolutely. And I've worked in all of them.
You have. I never said you would know. I was like, Jeff would know. Jeff would know that. So it's great. There was something else I wanted to ask you about because I have you here. B. Arthur.
Yes.
Another talent of our generation, obviously. You got to work with her. Can you expand on Miss B? Because I had friends who actually worked with her. and
Yeah.
other stuff. So I was kind of, I mean, you think about it in the book, but I want to kind of expand that a little bit for our listeners.
Lovely, lovely lady, tough as nails. You know? I think I say in the book that I really worked for my money on that
You
one.
just say that. I felt that too. When you read that, I felt that sentence.
Well, very strong, very powerful, knows what works for her, and she wants it done her way. So the story I tell in the book is that we designed an opening number for her, and I worked with the choreographer and the production designer, and we came up with a set idea, and the choreographer came up with a great idea of how to introduce B, and then how B could introduce all of her guests on the show. And the way it was done was that it was built on levels, and B started on the highest level, and then she walked down, 6 steps, and her first guest, Rock Hudson, was there, and she did a little something with him, and then she walked down 6 more steps to another platform. And anyway, we were in the rehearsal hall for days, and I showed B the blueprints and the sketches of the set and all that, talked about everything, what she was going to do, and she kept saying, okay, okay, okay. She was concentrating on her movement and the song that she had to sing, which were special lyrics and all that. And she kept saying, yes, yes, yes. And we rehearsed, and the choreographer would say to her, you're going to start here and you're going to walk down 6 stairs and you're going to get to the next level. And she would say, okay, okay. We walked into the studio to rehearse, and she saw the set and she said, what the fuck is that? And so I said, it's the set. She said, who's going up there?
Like, you are, girl, you're going up there.
I said, you are. I mean, this is what we've rehearsed for weeks. We've been talking about. You start on the top platform and you work your way down to the bottom. She said, I'm not going up there. She said, I'm scared to death of heights. I'm not going up there. She did. Yeah. She went up there and she was lovely and it was beautiful and she was comfortable and she sang the song and she walked down the stairs and she greeted her guests and nobody ever knew.
Yes.
It was perfect by the time we got on the air. But oh my God, what we went through to get her up there.
Woo! Sure.
And I had developed kind of a relationship with her, even though she was tough. She was really difficult to in a short period of time to get close to her. But I did the best I could. And I thought that when she kept saying, I'm not going up on the top platform, I'm not going up there, I finally thought, maybe I'll be a smart ass, maybe I can get something by her, give her a little bit of her own medicine. I said, okay, fine. Excuse me, I'll be right back. I'm going to call Betty White to see if she's available. I thought it was kind of funny.
Yes.
He didn't think it was funny at all.
Oopsie. Oopsie.
Yeah. I smiled and thought she was going to laugh and stuff, and I got that stare like,
oh, yeah.
Fuck you.
Yeah. Yeah, I love it. I could talk to you forever. So as we start to wind down,
okay,
I have to ask you, because you directed and produced award shows, but then you won awards. So what is that like to actually win an award for an award show or special you did? Like, how does that, I mean, there's 3 of them sitting right behind you. How does that feel to win awards?
Pretty special. Feels pretty special. It's nice to be recognized when you work so hard. It's nice to be recognized for the job that you've done. Whoever votes, whoever the voting group is, whether it's the daytime Emmys, like you said, or the nighttime Emmys, or the Oscars, or the American Music Awards, or the Grammys, whatever it is, whatever the voting group is, it's nice to be recognized by those people for doing good work. We work hard at what we do. and to get the recognition. I talk about in the book, one of the things that Alan Carr and I did on the first Oscars was that, we felt that for years and years and years on all these award shows, the presenter would open the envelope and say, and the winner is. And Alan and I felt that, just to get nominated, you won. Just to be nominated, you won because you were recognized. So let's not say the winner is, let's say, and the Oscar goes to.
I think you guys changed it. I didn't realize it was you guys until later. I saw it. Like, oh, you guys changed that.
Yeah, yeah. And then every award show picked up on it. The Grammy goes to, the American Music Award goes to. And it's so much nicer than saying the winners, because they're all winners. They're all winners. And many of the people who do win get up there and say, I want to thank my other nominees in this category. So
I know, but I saw. I was like, "Oh yeah, you guys said," which I like it also. The thing is, you got to see at the table. You're one of the 5 or 6 or 7, and actually, if you think about it, since everybody's performances are so different, then it's not a true comparison of like if we all did the same. If 5 people did the same performance or 5 people did the same Oscars, then you can go, okay. Like, but this was like, no, we're all 5 individuals or teams.
Yeah. That have done something different, and they were all good. This one just happened to be liked more by the people who are voting.
That's what it is. That's what it is. Yes, that's what it is. And lastly, in your opinion, two-part question, or maybe it's together.
Okay.
What makes, you've done so many shows, what makes an effective director and what makes an effective producer?
Somebody who cares. Somebody who cares. Somebody who understands what the end game is, who you have to satisfy. Somebody who knows how to deal with talent. Somebody who understands that it's tough being on that side of the camera. And you need to be as accommodating as you can be. I have 11 rules of the road in the back of my book. And if you notice, rule number 1 is be kind. Rule number 5 is be kind. And rule number 11 is be kind. And that's sort of how I feel. Takeaways. Yeah. Be kind. I've never, ever, 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 ever raised my voice. I've never yelled at anybody. I've never lost it, ever. You don't get anything from people when you treat them like that. You don't get anything, but when you're kind, you make everybody feel like family. Everybody has a right to collaborate, to have an idea. You get the world from people. Everybody wants to do the best job they can to make the performance, the show, the whatever, the best it can be. You're the team captain. If you can get everybody on your team to play your game and want you to win, that's it. I think a good producer or a good director cares.
And I think that's actually good advice for life. But dealing with other people. I like that. Jeff Margolis, you're the bomb. You're just I could just listen to you talk forever. You're so good.
Thank you.
Thanks for your time.
Well, let's do that. Let's do this again then.
I would love to.
Let's do it again.
I would seriously love to. I have more. I got more questions. I got more stuff.
Why don't we set something up after the Oscars? Then we'll have even more to talk about.
We'll do that. Okay.
Make yourself a note.
You want something? I have to write notes for everything. You get a little older. Got all these notes for everything. Okay, set up. Okay, I will do that. I will set up with your. I'll set up with your guy. The book is called "We're Live at 5." You can get it anywhere. Go out and run out and get it. It is juicy. It is good. There are pictures, but he really breaks down step by step his career. And there's so many names in here. I just can't even. From Bing Crosby, Living Newton John. It was just so many names in here. So it's good, folks. It's good. Look at him. Look at him with that hair. You don't try to do like I was with that long hair back then. Line 5. I'm James Lott Jr. and this is In Between the Pages with James Lott Jr. We're going between books because we love books. Also support the arts. And I mean the arts, anything from behind the scenes to in front of the scenes. It's all art. Support the arts, support the arts, support the arts. I'm always going to say that. And we will talk to you, and he agrees, and we'll talk to you next time.